Welcome to my channel. These slides that are rolling by are an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. Once you have watched the video, I would appreciate it if you would click the like button and leave a small comment. It's really a big help to the channel. The YouTube logarithm, when it sees that, promotes the channel more and will be more viewers. I would appreciate that very much. Thank you for watching.
Hello everybody, I hope you can hear me from this distance. The camera is set up 15 feet or so away from me. I think this video is going to be mostly harvesting. It's that time of year and things are ready to harvest. I'm not quite sure when it will come out. This is Labor Day weekend, Saturday, September the 4th. Fall has arrived on Campobello Island. It always does. The end of August, the 1st of September, everything changes here. The calendar says that The calendar says that fall starts on the 22nd of September. Well, it's always much earlier than that here. Not any danger of frost or anything, but last night it went down to 11 degrees. It was forecast to go down to 9 degrees. Humidity is gone. You can probably hear some wind. I like the fall weather, actually. I'm tired of the heat and humidity that we had this summer. Let's get started and do a little bit of harvesting. I'm standing next to my hazel nut tree, which is loaded. I'm going to be picking them. I'll give you a closer look at them.
I think I have said previously on some of my videos that I've never had a year like this for the hazelnuts. The tree is loaded. And what I'm going to do is pick them before the squirrels and the birds or whatever else it is that attacks. I follow a YouTube channel from here in maritime Canada. It's nut growers, people that are trying to grow all kinds of nut trees here in the maritime provinces. And once again, I've been told that I can pick them at this stage and just leave them to dry in the house somewhere, and they will mature. Like the nut there is still very blonde. Well, helps if I show you what I'm talking about. It's still very blonde looking. I have done a few just as a trial, and they do turn the nice dark brown color eventually, and the husk that they're in dries so that they're easier to remove. And that's what I'm going to do, because last year I lost everything. First time I ever had whatever it was come and got them. I assumed that it was squirrels, and it may well have been, but on this YouTube page that I follow, they say that blue jays will take them away. So I have lots of blue jays, especially in the wintertime, and lately they've been screaming in the trees again. So if that's true, I want to get them before the blue jays start harvesting too. I'll show you what I get when I finish. There is one basket full, and I'm still picking. If you heard that, that is a blue jay. Yeah, there's a whole flock of them coming in here now. I think they're upset that I'm getting the hazelnuts. Well, I'll show you the rest of them once I get them picked. I don't think there'll be another basket full like that, but I've been thinking about what to do with them, where to put them so that they could continue to mature and age and whatever. And I think they would be better in a single layer. So they're on their way to the cabin. I'm just going to put them on the floor in the cabin. The loft has already got onions and garlic in it, so I will spread these out in a single layer on the floor in the cabin. I think that's probably a good place for them to age, and hopefully I'll get a lot of hazelnuts out of it. Well, I've picked most everything that I can see that's down where I can reach it. I'm sure there are more there. It gets to the point where the old saying goes, you can't see the forest for the trees. The big leaves on the hazel trees this time of year covers up a lot of the clusters of nuts. I know I'll walk by for days afterwards and say, oh, there's another cluster, and go and pick it. But right now I want to show you my solution for the ones that are too high up to get. I've let these things grow too tall. Same way with my plum tree. They should have been kept pruned. and I haven't done it for 2 or 3 years or more. I guess I've never pruned the hazel trees, but I have pruned the plums before. And when I was harvesting my plums yesterday or the day before, whenever the day before yesterday, I guess, I used my long-handled extendable pruning shear, a tree pruner. It extends to, I would say, probably about 4 meters, 12, 15 feet, something like that. Anyway, I will show you how I use that thing and prune down some of these taller branches. There are lower branches that have got to be pruned too, but not today. This is on the path going over to the cabin, and I have to keep pushing branches out of the way to get there. Well, hopefully you saw that. I will take the nuts off of those ones first before I prune down any more. But it might look a bit drastic, but it's going to do the tree a lot of good. There's just no advantage to having fruit or nuts 15, 20 feet in the air where you can't get at it. Well, the tree is certainly looking a lot different. Kind of drastic right now. By early summer next year, a lot of new growth will have grown up and covered up the naked areas where I cut the branches off. And I'm not finished yet, really. I'm finished as far as hazelnut harvesting goes, but I want to do more pruning on this thing. I think I'll wait until later in the fall when all the leaves are off of it so I can see better what I'm doing, but it's sort of got out of control. If I can show you. That's the path, and through there, that light area anyway, that goes to the cabin. I don't know if you can make out Angel or not. She's sleeping on the doorstep to the cabin. But the branches are down. I have to push branches out of the way every time I go through. So that's one thing that I want to do. But also I just want to give it a good pruning. I think it needs it. The only thing I felt bad about with cutting those tall branches off was that they had a lot of catkins, male catkins, had formed for next year's pollination, and they will not be available for pollination next year, but I wouldn't look to get as many hazelnuts next year as I got this year anyway because of the pruning, and this has been an exceptional year. I've never had anything quite like it. There's Angel on the doorstep sunning herself. It's cool today, so it's quite alright, I don't mind, but no matter how hot the day is, she wants to go out and lay in the sun on my deck. I'll only let her do it for about 5 minutes. I'm scared to death she'll have a heat stroke, but she loves the heat and the sun. I didn't think that I would get a second basket full, but I did. An amazing harvest. And all I'm doing is just spreading them out into what I hope to be a single layer or close to it. I'm sure it'll be a month or more. Maturing, hardening off, whatever you want to call it in here. I'll try to remember to show you what they look like once it's time to get them out of the husks and hopefully actually shell out some hazelnuts. Well, I'm going to move on now and do my Asian pears. Hopefully those are in focus. I've said before, but if you haven't been on my videos and watching, it's a grafted Asian pear tree. It had 5 varieties when I got it, and I've lost one of the branches, so it's only got 4 varieties left. They're a bit bigger than they were other years. I suppose all the extra moisture we had this summer. And the fifth branch is sending out some new leaves, so there's hopes of it getting big enough that it'll produce again in the future. But right now I have at least 4 varieties. You pick pears when they're green. If you've probably been like me many times in a grocery store, wouldn't take the pears because they were so green. Same way with plums. They ship better when they're green, and they have a longer shelf life and whatever. But I've been ignoring these, and these are very ripe and ready. I ate one yesterday. They're delicious and juicy. Don't have any great amount of them, but I'll show you what I have when I finish picking them. Angel and the pears. My babe. One of the varieties had, almost all of them had split. You can see a little bit on the end there. And I think that was the cause of that torrential rainstorm that we had, the tail end of Hurricane Ida. It poured rain here for close to 24 hours. I was worried about my exploding cabbages. I always get people joke at me when I say my cabbages will explode. They will break wide open if they get excess rain. But mine this year are growing in a very high raised bed, which drains really well. So far, I haven't seen any ill effect from the rain. If I were going to recommend a variety, if you're thinking you like to grow an Asian pear, that's the one I would recommend. Hosui, Asian pear. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce the word. I assume it's Chinese. These are bigger than I've ever grown before, and I say it's probably because of the nice season that we had. We had a lot of good warm weather, but we also had a lot of rain. Those are delicious. They're crisp, they're sweet, and if you've never eaten an Asian pear, they don't compare at all to the pear-shaped pears, Anjou or russet or any of the other variety of traditional shaped pears. They're totally different. They're much sweeter and much juicier, much crisper. But I like all kinds of pears, but these are very nice. And that is the variety that I would recommend if you're thinking about getting a tree that isn't grafted. If I was going to buy another tree, that's what I would go for, but I don't think I'm in the market for another tree. I'm going to go harvest red chilies now. Well, I've said before many times, the variety is chili de arbol. In Spanish, arbol is tree, or tree chili. And I've been saying all along that they're a Spanish chili. Well, Spanish language, but from what I've recently discovered about them, they're Mexican. Good heat in them, if you like heat. Many times hotter than, say, a jalapeno, if that's as high as you can go with heat. But I have used them in several dishes. I made a soup out of, well, what we call pulses, I guess. Chickpeas, beans, what else was in there? Lentils, and pearl barley, along with garlic. And then I put a lot of these chili peppers in, and onion, whatever. They've got a nice heat and a lovely flavor. I really like them. So I'll show you what I get once I finish picking, and then I'll show you how I'm drying them for use later. Well, that's today's little harvest of chili de arbol. A lot of heat in that little basket right now. I get that many every, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, I guess. They just keep ripening. And in the greenhouse, they should keep ripening here even after we've had some frost. I would think they'd be safe, so hopefully most of the hundreds of green ones that are in there will ripen. I don't know, I was going to say frost. We sometimes get a light frost before the end of September. Normally our frost is somewhere beginning to middle of October before we get a real killing frost. So different every year though. This contraption is 4 levels high. It has 4 of these sort of gauzy shelf layers, meant for drying herbs, but it does a wonderful job of drying peppers. I just keep adding them to the same level until it's full. Takes a long while for them to completely dry. You could use a dehydrator. I don't know what that would do to the flavor. I know one thing, I was disappointed when I used a dehydrator to dry peppers a few years ago. It ruins the seeds. The seeds are no longer viable. Too much heat. So I prefer to let them just do their natural drying here. My plans are to just crush some of them up into red pepper flakes, the ones that I don't throw on the floor. There it is, one just went down here somewhere. And use some of them that way. And the rest of them I will make a powder. I have a spice grinder, small coffee grinder actually, and I've always used it for spices. Grind it into a powder, what the Italians call peperoncino. Peperoncino is also a variety, I think, of pepper that it's made from. But over here you find salt and pepper on the table. You go to an Italian home for dinner anywhere in Italy and you're going to find peperoncino there to dust on everything you eat. They like things hot and spicy. I guess that's why I like Italy so much. But anyway, that's how I'm drying them. Eventually they will be dry enough to do the things that I want to do with them. Well, I guess you'd have to say the gourd crop was a success. This is just a quick little slideshow of some of the more interesting ones. Just a second, I'll show you the whole number of them that I got. I'm not so sure that I would do this again, but it was fun watching them all develop and grow. Well, I guess that is my entire gourd crop, including ones that were growing up at the community garden. I was up there and picked the gourds and the couple of winter squash that were up there. Don't think I'd do this again because now that I've grown them, I haven't got a clue what to do with them. I have to find somebody that would like to have them, I guess, for fall decorations. Well, that is my winter squash harvest. I decided to pick them. The vines aren't completely dead. They're starting to die back, but I don't think they would get any larger at this point. And I don't know what it is that we've got coming for this week, Thursday and Friday. I haven't paid attention to it enough to know if that's the tail end of this latest hurricane, Hurricane Larry, or not. But we are supposed to have heavy rain Thursday and Friday. The last heavy rain didn't seem to bother the squash any, but I decided to pick them anyway. This large one, the largest one, came from up at the community garden. It's a wonderful place to grow almost anything. I'm thinking next year all I will put up there is winter squash plants. This year I put 2 zucchinis, 2 winter squash, and 2 gourds. And the zucchinis have gone crazy. I don't know how many I've had. I keep leaving them out of the people's plots. They don't seem to have any zucchini. And there were several there today that are far too big. Nothing I want them for, I guess. But at any rate, I'm going to put these in the greenhouse, on the ground in the greenhouse, to finish curing so that the stems will, where I cut the stems, they will dry off. That seems to harden them off better for winter. I haven't been keeping you abreast of all of my potato reveals, I guess. I emptied 2 of these. I was going over on the New Brunswick mainland to visit with family for the day. My sister-in-law had one of my niece from Ontario and her husband and one of her daughters visiting, and I wanted to take them some potatoes, so I emptied 2 of these, but I didn't have time to weigh them or anything. Not that it makes any great difference, I guess, but they were just about average. I don't think anything different than probably what I'll find in this one. Just pulled some dead stems out here, and this one I'll include it in the weighing, but I won't be eating that. It's sunburned, it's turned green. It was on the surface like that. So let's see what we get. The soil is still quite wet from that tail end of Hurricane Ida. Lots of earthworms in this one. That's about the size that they have been. I suppose, because the vines all started to die back at the same time. I'm quite sure that they would, field grown, they would have been a larger potato, but that's a lovely size. Just a serving as far as I'm concerned, I guess. One's plenty. Most of the potatoes seem to be at the top. And the containers are too deep or what? They don't seem to end up down at the bottom at all. That's the burnt one. Well, I don't think there's anything else there. Whoops, spoke too soon. No, that's a rock. You can't eat a rock. No, I think that's about it. So, as I always say, I will weigh them, put the weight on the screen here. And this concludes the harvest video. I think really that's just about everything harvested. I still have some scarlet runner beans, but I'm letting scarlet runners develop beans now. The bean in the pod type bean, I mean, so that I will have some seeds to plant next year because they're an open pollinated heirloom variety. So by now you will have seen the weight of whatever I got there, but it's pretty much the same that I've been getting with each one of these when I empty them. There's not any great difference other than this time this guy is going in the trash after I weigh them. Well, that concludes the video. Thank you very much for staying through to the end. I appreciate you watching very much. See you on the next video.